Hello everyone, I'm Devon and I'm going to share with you how to make these delicious cinnamon rolls from scratch. I cannot wait to share this recipe with you so you can create these yummy cinnamon rolls right in your kitchen. Are you ready? Let's get started. So these are the ingredients that we are going to be using to make our delicious cinnamon rolls. We're going to be using whole milk, bread flour. We're going to be using salted butter, brown sugar, eggs, table salt, some cinnamon, yeast of course, and also some regular granulated sugar. Now I'm going to be using my stand mixer, but I'm also going to be sharing with you how to make these cinnamon rolls without having a stand mixer as well. Okay, so first what we're going to do is in my mixer I put my milk, and that was whole milk, and that was 1 cup of whole milk. And my milk was warm to the touch, not hot, but warm, like if you were going to give a baby a bottle of milk, about that warmth, like that. You don't want your milk too hot because then you're going to kill your yeast, but you want your milk to be nice and warm. Okay, now next in my mixer I put in my yeast, and that was 2.5 teaspoons of my active dry yeast. Next, I put in my room temperature eggs, and that's 2 eggs that were at room temperature. Now, prior to putting in my eggs, my milk and my yeast, I let them hang out together for about 5 minutes before I added those eggs. And as you see how the yeast starts to like bubble a bit, it starts to really start to activate. That's what you want. Next, we're adding in 1 stick of salted butter, nice and soft. You want it super soft, just like I have it here. And so you're going to add that to your mixer. Now, likewise, if you're going to be using just a bowl and not a stand mixer, all these ingredients you would add to a large bowl. Next, I added in 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, and then we're adding in 1/2 teaspoon of regular table salt. We're going to give everything a nice mix. And you want to start off nice and gentle so that way your eggs can start to kind of break up some. Now in the description box below, I will have a list of all the ingredients you need to make these delicious cinnamon rolls for your family, okay? So have everything going. And I also have a special ingredient that I'm going to share with you that makes these cinnamon rolls come out so delicious. Now what we're doing next is we're going to add in our flour. We're going to use 4 cups plus 2 tablespoons of flour that we're going to have on reserve. When you're adding in those 4 cups of bread flour, you add them in a little bit at a time. I usually like to add mine in 1/2 cup increments. So you add a little bit and then you mix. You add a little bit more flour and then you mix. And you just keep doing that because you want to gently start to just mix and blend in and incorporate that wet ingredients of our yeast and our milk and our sugar all together with our flour. Okay, so it's like a slow hydration of that flour in with that mixture. Now during this process, if you're not using a stand mixer and you're using a bowl and you want to also use a spatula, nice soft spatula that you use for mixing, you would also add the flour in a little bit at a time. Use your spatula to mix around your dough and what you're creating in your bowl. Add a little bit more flour and mix around as well. With a nice spoon, you can use a wooden spoon or a spatula. I prefer using the spatula. I feel it works better when you're mixing the dough in the bowl, but you just want to continue to do the same process in a bowl if you don't have a stand mixer. Okay, now also I'm using bread flour, and bread flour works the best. Okay, but if you don't have bread flour and you have all-purpose unbleached flour, you can use that. It'll still come out really good. It won't be as pillowy soft as you would maybe like or expect, but the cinnamon rolls with all-purpose flour, they come out good as well. Now also, once you've done that, and you see once we get to this point, then we want to switch over to my hook. And what our hook is going to do is our hook is going to be kneading our dough. Now if I am making the dough and I don't have a hook, I'm not using a stand mixer, what you want to do at this point is that you want to go on and then just take your dough, put it on a surface that's nice and clean with a little bit of flour, and you're going to knead your dough by hand. When you're kneading your dough by hand, you gather all your dough together, and see how the dough starts to gather together in this bowl. But you gather all your dough together. You're going to push the dough away from you, bring it back to you, fold it in like you would a piece of paper, like a letter, knead it, and you're going to be doing that process of pushing the dough from you, bringing it towards you, folding it in on itself. You're going to be doing that for about 5 to 7 minutes. Your arms are going to get a workout, but you're going to be doing it for about 5 to 7 minutes. Your dough is going to look like this, okay? Now, we used our 4 cups of the flour. And then if your dough seems to be a little wet, you can add just those additional 1 to 2 tablespoons if need be. We had them on reserve and we didn't need to use them because our dough came together nicely. Now, once your dough has come together nicely and you've kneaded it for that 5 to about 7 minutes, or either you've let the hook go for about 5 to 7 minutes, all the dough is nice and smooth. It's gathered together in a nice ball. What we do is we take a nice buttered bowl. And what I do is I just kind of rotate the dough around in the buttered bowl just like that. And that's going to be similar to if you were kneading it, how I was kind of gathering it around like that. You're going to have a nice big ball of dough. You're going to have a large bowl. Take your large bowl that you've buttered, and then we're going to cover it with some plastic wrap. I'm going to set it inside of my oven. And what I did was I just turned the light on my oven. And I'm going to set it in my oven till our dough doubles. That's going to take about 30 minutes. Now we're going to make that nice filling, that nice cinnamon filling that is inside of our cinnamon rolls. We're going to be using 1 stick of nice softened butter. And we're also using salted butter when we're making our filling for our cinnamon rolls. And if you are new to my channel, welcome. And if you're a returner, welcome back. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I invite you to hit that subscribe button. It's free. And I would love for you to become one of my wonderful subscribers. Now, once we have our softened butter, our brown sugar, and we were using light brown sugar, and we also used 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. I know 2 tablespoons of cinnamon seems like a lot, but trust me, it works perfectly in this recipe. Now, once you mix everything around and you've created somewhat of like a paste of that brown sugar, we're going to set that aside and see how our dough is doing. So our dough has risen, and this took 30 minutes for it to double in size. We're going to take the plastic wrap off the top, but keep the plastic wrap to the side because we will be using that again. Our dough is nice and pillowy soft, and it's that nice bread flour that really is going to help these cinnamon rolls to be nice and fluffy and soft and delicious. Now, I also have a recipe that I'm going to share with you. Is my homemade pizza dough. And with that pizza dough, we will be using bread flour as well, because in this kitchen, hey, we don't want to put anything to waste. And so we will be using that bread flour again, as well as we're also going to be using some yeast, okay? So anyway, for our cinnamon roll dough, once you take it out the bowl and it's done that rising for that 30 minutes and it's doubled, use your fingertips like I'm doing in the beginning, because you really want to try to work out your dough. And we are going to be making a large square, and our square is going to be around 20 inches to about 15 to 18 inches, because our goal is we want to roll out our dough till the thickness of our dough is about 1/8 of an inch thick. Okay, so 1/8 of an inch thick is what you want to roll your dough out to, and the size will vary, but it's going to be around about that 20 inches to about the other dimensions going to be about maybe 15 18 inches, give or take. Okay, and so you see what I'm doing is once I've kind of used my fingertips to stretch the dough out as far as I can, then I use my rolling pin and I finish the rest by continuing to roll it out to get to that 1/8 of an inch thickness that we want. Okay, and so you want to have a square, a big square. Now, if it's not 100% even, that's okay, because you know what? These cinnamon rolls are going to come out just as good anyway. And so we use that nice paste of that brown sugar, the cinnamon, and the butter. We're going to put it all over, and you want to go on and spread this from end to end. Now, once you do that, You start with the end that's closest to you. You want to kind of, and as I'm doing this and I'm going to be rolling, you want to roll nice and tight, a little bit at a time. I'm going to also continually be stretching the dough because I want to stretch it and try to have it nice and even thickness all the way through. So you're going to roll it nice and tight, and you're also going to be stretching. You see how I'm like stretching, trying to keep it nice and even, because your dough will also try to spring back on you. So just keep rolling just like that. And I like using my mat, my silicone mat, when I'm rolling out the dough, because in that way I could just pull it towards me, and it's just really easier like that, I've found. Now you can also use parchment paper as well. And wax paper also works very well when you're rolling out dough. Now, once we've kind of rolled everything and we're kind of getting to the end there, you want to make sure that once you finish rolling your dough, that our crease is going to be on the bottom, okay? Because when we start to cut our pieces of our cinnamon roll, we want to make sure it doesn't unravel on us, and so you want to have your crease at the bottom, okay? And so I just kind of rotate it just like that, and we're going to be cutting these in 12 pieces. Our cinnamon roll dough, our recipe will give us 12 nice sized cinnamon rolls, okay? And so what I like to do is I start in the middle. So I look to see on my roll where the middle is. So we're going to do a middle cut. Then we're going to end up with 2 pieces. And then we're going to cut those pieces in half as well. Now we're going to be using that 9 by 13 inch baking dish that I have there, that I have been very liberal and I've buttered it very well. And so that's what we're going to put our cinnamon rolls in. And so I cut it in half. I took the 2 half pieces, cut those in half, and each of those halves, we're going to end up with 4. Each of those halves, you want to cut those as well, because then you're going to end up with your even number of 12. Now, even when you're cutting them, if your cinnamon rolls are not exactly the same size, don't worry. What you want to do is any cinnamon rolls that seem to be bigger or maybe a little bit thicker, you want to put those and section those around the outside rim of your baking dish. Some that seem to be a little bit smaller than the other ones, I tend to put those more towards the middle. The reason why I do this is because as the cinnamon rolls are baking up, the outside of the baking dish will tend to bake up and get hotter more so than the inside will right away. And so those thicker, bigger pieces will do good on the outside, smaller pieces more towards the middle. Now that piece of plastic wrap that we had saved from when our dough was rising, we're using that same piece and we're putting it over our cinnamon rolls now. We're going to let the cinnamon rolls double in size, and this is going to take about 15 minutes. So back in the oven they went. Now it's been the 15 minutes. Our cinnamon rolls have doubled out in size. You see how they have filled in our baking dish. And now it's time for that very special ingredient, heavy cream. We're going to be using a half a cup of heavy cream. What heavy cream does when baking our cinnamon rolls, it helps our cinnamon rolls to stay nice and moist. It also gives a certain richness and texture to our cinnamon rolls as they bake up. And with your heavy cream, you want to make sure that you take your heavy cream out of the refrigerator, let it sit on your countertop for about 15 minutes, which is the time that it took for our cinnamon rolls to double. And then I go on and I use the heavy cream. You don't want your heavy cream to be ice cold coming out of your refrigerator. You want to just kind of have the chill knocked off of it a bit, okay? Now our cinnamon rolls will bake in our oven at 375 for 18 to 22 minutes until they're nice and golden brown. And this is it. This is our cinnamon rolls have baked up for 20 minutes. They look so good. They are beautiful golden brown. I have some homemade frosting that we are going to be using for our cinnamon rolls. I'm going to put in the description box below the ingredients for my delicious homemade frosting. And this is a homemade cream cheese frosting, and it's cream cheese, butter, powdered sugar, vanilla, and a little bit of milk, and it comes out perfect, and it is the perfect amount of sweetness to these yummy cinnamon rolls. And so this is what our cinnamon rolls look like. That beautiful homemade frosting has just started to melt on them, but we have got to give these yummy cinnamon rolls a try. Once you have homemade cinnamon rolls and you have done this, you will feel like you could do this every weekend for your family, right? So this is it. This is how our cinnamon rolls are looking. Oh my goodness. We got to get that little piece right there. We can't leave none behind, y'all. Get that little piece right there that goes with our cinnamon roll. It is so gooey and perfect. Will you look at this? Look at this right here. Do you see how nice and moist and gooey and perfect these cinnamon rolls have come out? Well, I am going to give you guys the first bite. Are you ready for your bite? Okay. Let's go on and give y'all a bite and let's just see how we did with the cinnamon roll, y'all. That bite right there, that's for you. Okay, now let me give it a try. Let's see how we did. Y'all, these are so good. It is a beautiful Sunday morning. We have made some homemade cinnamon rolls from scratch for the family. I've got some coffee going, y'all. I got some nice cut up fruit in the fridge. I'm going to scramble some eggs, make some breakfast sausage. This is going to be a great Sunday morning breakfast. Well, that is it for me today, y'all. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, go on and hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and click share and share this video with a friend or family. Well, that is it for me today, y'all. And remember, it is always good when Devon is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.